Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Sick Podcast Talking Titans. If you're a gambling man or woman, some might call DeAndre Hopkins coming to the Titans a home run. We're going to tell you why. We're going to talk about a bunch more on this week's episode. Sammy, start me up.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Talking Titans.
Ladies and gentlemen, 94 yards. Touchdown, Titans. He is the baddest man in the NFL, and he just took her to the house.
The sickest Tennessee Titans podcast.
Sick!
It's gonna be sick.
What is going on, folks? Welcome back to another edition of the Sick Podcast Talking Titans. I'm joined always by Mr. Lombard. Jared is taking the week off. He'll be back next week, and we can't wait to have him back. But me and Vin are going to hold down the fort. How you doing tonight, Vin?
Doing better than last week. I had some family health concerns, as you guys alluded to on the show. I want to thank you guys for the thoughts and prayers, as well as the few people that shot me a DM on Twitter, some people that watched the show, wishing me and my family nothing but the best, praying for us. My father's doing much better, so I appreciate the thoughts and prayers. And, never take your health for granted or your family's health for granted, because it could be gone in an instant. So with that being said, though, on a brighter note, let's dive right into it, as Sal likes to say, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I'm so happy things worked out for you on your end, and we're happy to have you back, of course. But let's jump right into it. Like you said, as I mentioned in the opener, we're going to talk about something first that is obviously something that's been a constant topic of discussion along with multiple shows that we've had over the past few months. There is a glaring hole in one specific position that the Tennessee Titans need to fill before the week one opener against the Saints, and that's a wide receiver. And there is one big name that is still flying around the air, and apparently the Vegas gods are giving us a little bit of a hint of where that location might end up. As you've probably seen, yesterday Vegas has Hopkins coming to Nashville at minus 300, and if you don't know what that means, that essentially means you have to bet $300 to win $100, which is obviously a high risk, low reward, meaning you're probably going to win it. So what do you make of this, Vin? I mean, we've been baited before with these BS reports. Vegas is usually pretty smart, but I don't know. What do you think?
I am a gambling man. So those odds would tell you that DeAndre Hopkins is coming here, but there's no certain thing in the gambling world, that is for sure. And, we alluded to it earlier before the show even started. And I'm not trying to talk bad about this team. I'm really not. I'm not sure he wants to come here. I think we're his backup plan. I think if Buffalo or Kansas City came in and offered him the money that we were offering, he would be with one of those teams by now. I think the most money he's getting offered right now are from us and from New England. And he really likes Bill Belichick. I've talked about it before, the video of them two showing each other, love and whatnot for what they do in their respective professions. And I just don't think he really wants to come here. I think if he really wanted to be here that bad, he would have made his decision up by now. I think he might be waiting for a team to come in last minute, Buffalo or Kansas City maybe, to sign him. But with that being said, I do think we're offering the most money. He gets to play his former team twice a year. He gets to reunite with Mike Vrabel, who was a coordinator on the defensive side when he was in Houston. Gets to reunite with Tim Kelly, his offensive coordinator. And it is a very winnable division. There's obviously something that he might not love about this franchise. That's why he hasn't signed here yet. Maybe it's the quarterback. Maybe it's the fact he doesn't feel like we are a contender through and through. But I hate to sound like I'm bad-mouthing the team. I'm not sure he really wants to be here. I think he's looking at Nashville. And, even though the city is really cool and we gave him, a really cool welcoming party when he was on our visit here, I think he's looking at us almost like a backup plan. So that's how I feel about it. I do think we're going to get him. I think we offer the most money, the easiest path to the playoffs. And, That's just how I feel about it. So how do you feel though?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I don't think he wants to come here at all. I mean, I think backup plan would even be putting it kind of nicely. I think we are his best option currently. I think we are offering him definitely a significant amount more than the powerhouses in the AFC are offering him. So we're pretty much putting his hands behind his own back. And it's pretty simple why I don't believe he wants to come here. I mean, number one, we are not historically a throwing football team in any way, shape, or form. Number two, we've tried to bring in many times before aging NFL superstars. Now, I'm sure DeAndre doesn't view himself as aging, but he's a smart guy. He knows he's no spring chicken anymore. And he can look back in years past, look at guys like Randy Moss, or guys like Andre Johnson, look at guys like Julio Jones that we try to use to bring in to spruce up this offense. And every single time it happens, the same recipe occurs where we don't throw them the ball nearly enough. And what happens? Randy Moss gets released before he can really even take a cup of coffee with us. Then you got Andre Johnson that was like, this isn't even worth my time. He leaves in the middle of the season. And Julio Jones, who couldn't stay on the field. And when we finally got him in the playoffs, I think we threw him 3 times. So, you'd have to be an idiot not to look at our situation and be like, well, why would I want to go there? Besides the overwhelming difference in money, which might be the case. And if that's the case, he's going to come here, even if it is unwillingly and, not unwillingly, but unwantingly. And, we're going to, make the best of it. But from a football fan perspective, not a Titan fan perspective, I mean, you couldn't blame the guy for not wanting to come here because even though we have a pretty decent shot of making the playoffs through our division, we got a long way to go. We need to revamp this entire offense. We went from a number 1 seed to dropping 7 straight in a colossal implosion of our playoff picture last year. And anyone can say what they want. Yeah, the ceiling is high. But the basement's also very low, and that's one of the scary things about this team that we tend to forget when we talk. We always want to talk about the positives. Caleb Farley could finally come out and be a starting corner. You could talk about Kyle Phillips and Chig taking the next step, but the basement is that we go right back to our old play style where we're going to try to run the ball 35 times a game and win it in the fourth quarter. And just like we did last year, we can win 8-9 games in the last 3 minutes of the game. And we could be in a terrible situation. So I can understand DeAndre's thought process. But at the end of the day, like I said, Vegas knows a lot, and they don't just make shit up. So I'm going to be cautious and be, quietly excited. But, I mean, DraftKings would not just throw this out for no reason. Clearly, they know something we don't. And hopefully it happens sooner than later so we can actually have some optimism for 2023 and maybe take a crack at things and get in the tournament, which is all we're looking to do. So time will tell. But we'll jump right into our next topic. We've been talking about different position groups each week. Last week, we dove into the linebacking core when Vin wasn't with us, but now that he's back, we're going to jump into our secondary. And we're talking safeties, corners, all the above, everyone who's in that backfield. And just kind of what we expect and who we think is going to be a shining star, who we think needs to progress more. We got a graphic, and then I'll turn it over to you, Vin. We can start with our I would say upper echelon of the secondary here. I know there's some guys on this list that you hold very dearly. Take me through it and tell me what your visions are for 2023.
I mean, we'll start at the top. Christian Fulton, obviously pound for pound, our best quarterback, I would have to say, on the team. His biggest issue has been availability. I brought it up on previous podcasts, and I'll bring it up again. All the ability in the world, but it seems as though he struggles to stay on the field. And I'm telling you right now, if he struggles early on, he's in the last year of his deal. If they know they're not going to re-sign him because we have such little draft capital going into the 2024 draft, if Christian Fulton is not playing up to par, I can see him being a candidate to get traded in the middle of the year, especially if we're struggling a little bit and we know we might not make the playoffs and we know we're not going to sign him long-term. If we can fetch a 4th, 5th round pick for him, could see him being on the move. Obviously, I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I could see it happening. He has all the ability in the world, and when he's on the field, he is a premier talent at the position. Obviously, I just said I think he's our best corner, but his biggest issue has been availability, and your biggest ability is availability. And we know that Vrabel always talks about those soft tish guys. People joke about it. He's had soft tish issues the last few years. He enters the last year of his deal. And I'm not even sure he was participating in minicamp. I think he was still battling with injury. So
Yeah, he was very limited.
yeah, not a great start, but the potential is there. Second round pick, was with that LSU team that won the national championship. So immensely talented. Just needs to stay on the field. And if he stays on the field, though, in his contract year, he's going to demand top dollar next year because cornerbacks, when you get a good one, are highly coveted. So I don't know if you echo my sentiment on one Christian Fulton.
Yeah, of course.
But that's
Yeah.
how I feel about him, to be honest.
Yeah, I mentioned this a few weeks ago. I think he might be a casualty, like a payroll casualty coming up next year. Could be a very similar situation with Dory Jackson, where we saw the talent, but unfortunately just couldn't stay on the field long enough and couldn't show the value of the contract he's probably going to ask for, no matter how his season goes this year. So, we'll see how things shape up. If he plays a full 17 games, which I think is highly unlikely, but knock on wood, if he plays even 15 games, and has solid production on his coverages, I think you might see him stick around. Because you don't know how Rand does things. As far as how J-Rob did things, it was always money oriented first. Nothing to do with the lineage of the team, whether he was drafted here or not. If the money didn't seem to be the right fit, you were gone. Carthon might see differently. He might value tape a little bit more than dollar signs, and if he sees that Fulton is a very good corner when he's healthy, he might take a leap of faith and keep him around. We'll see how things go, but we see his capability when healthy. Would still like to see him evolve a little bit better. There was a few rough spots last year. Could be due to injury. I don't know. But just a little more consistency. But overall, yeah, like you said, easily our best corner on the roster as it stands now. So give me your thoughts on Mr. Hooker at strong safety.
I like Amani Hooker. I do. I'm not in love with him. I think he's a solid safety. I think there's safeties that are just as good as him out there. I wasn't actually a huge fan of that extension when we gave it to him, to be honest. I think that is a position that you could find in the draft, like Byard, who was a third-round pick. Hooker is good. I think him and Byard are phenomenal tandem, but he really failed to stay on the field last year. He commands a high, high dollar amount that he makes. And I'll tell you one thing, there's not much depth in the safety room outside of Hooker and Byard. So if he doesn't stay healthy, we saw how atrocious that secondary looked at times last year when we were picked apart. Byard is getting a little older. I love him to death. We'll touch on him next, but he needs Amani Hooker to be there and to be healthy, because when he is healthy, he's a great safety. He made a phenomenal play. I'll never forget that interception against Cincinnati that turned the tide for us. Obviously, we know how that game ended, but has the ability when he's on the field. But that contract, I thought, was a little premature, in my opinion. It was a contract that J-Rob gave him. And Amani Hooker's a guy where I think if he struggles to stay on the field this year, or his play isn't up to par, he is not a Rand Carthon guy. He's not someone that Carthon signed and gave this money to. Can see him being a cap casualty at the end of the year should he fail to stay on the field or should his play not be up to par. So that's how I feel about him.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally see him being trade, some sort of trade bait in the middle of the season if he's kind of lackluster. I think that position we can float without him. We've done it before with all of his injuries that we've dealt with. So I would keep an eye on him. Maybe a team takes a chance on him if there's a position of need that we need and we're in the mix in the division, come end of the fall. But yeah, I mean, again, another guy shows lots of flashes, still needs some consistency from him. But availability is another concern for his. And be interested to see how Carthon and Vrabel value him when the time comes on what their decision on where his future is going to be and who it's going to be with. So we'll see how things shape up. Moving on to free safety, the one and only Kevin Byard. not much to say on my end. I mean, the stats speak for themselves. I've always been a big advocate for Kevin Byard. Love him to death. I think I partially had to do with his breakout season a few years back when I questioned his heart the year prior, but we won't get into that. We're just talking about the good stuff. Yeah, 31 Savage, one of the best to do it in Titan Blue. What do you think?
And then you took credit for his 2 interceptions against Dallas after you called him out after our argument.
Absolutely meaningless game. Yes, you're right. I did.
Yeah. All right. The tape speaks for itself. Kevin Byard is a top 3 safety in this league. You can argue that he is the best safety in this league, and we always argue the best ability is availability. And that's something Mr. Byard has given us his whole career in Nashville. I think he's been here, I want to say 6 or 7 years. He maybe has missed 1 or 2 games, maybe no games. I'm not sure, but he is on the field. And what he brings on the field as a player, he brings just as much on the field and in the locker room as a leader, in my opinion. He's a guy that people listen to when he opens his mouth. He's a mature individual, I believe. You never have to worry about any dumb off-field things with him. He leads by example. He busts his ass all off season. If you follow him on social media, all he does is work out. And, the play speaks for itself. I mean, I believe he's a 2 or 3-time first-team All-Pro, maybe has a second-team All-Pro in there, multiple Pro Bowls, led the league in interceptions 1 year. And in his age, he's getting close to 30, I believe. He doesn't really show any signs of slowing down. So you'll never find a bigger stand on Twitter or on this podcast than me when it comes to Kevin Byard. I'd love to see him retire in two-tone blue. I would give the same answer if I was him when they asked him about taking a pay cut. Absolutely not. He's earned every dollar. His play on the field, his leadership abilities, what he means to that community, really. He's a Tennessee guy through and through. And I'll never forget when they drafted him and in the 3rd round, a safety out of Middle Tennessee State. And I was like, who the hell is this guy? And then they showed his highlights, and he was the all-time leading interceptions at his college. And, I said, all right, we'll give this guy a chance. And, he's proved to be a phenomenal, phenomenal player for us. One of the best gifts J-Rob has given us, in my opinion. So,
yeah.
Aside from me asking him to marry me, there's not much else I could say about him right now. I love Kevin Byard. Will always be a fan of his. And, I hope he's here for not only this year, but years to come as well. Yeah.
Listen, availability has always been a major concern on both sides of football, this organization. And I do give the guy a ton of credit. I mean, he's played a lot, and he's been impactful a lot. So as things stands now, I definitely think he's much too important at this point now where we are in this offseason, that my previous thoughts of maybe using him as bait for something in return, that's out the window at this point, because you look at this secondary and you look at the availability concerns, and you need that guy there in the middle to help us out when the guys around him aren't as elite as he is. So definitely need Kevin Byard and hope he has another great year like he did 2 years ago. So moving on, this guy everyone claims is like the second coming of Deion Sanders. Had a hell of a Super Bowl run with Tampa Bay. I think he had 3 interceptions in that playoff run with Brady. So, he's a winner. He's a championship winner. Decent stats, nothing that blows me away. But this is a guy that's going to have to produce at a very high level because he is a pivotal part of this secondary, whether he wants to be or not. What do you think about Sean Murphy-Bunting in this offense and this defense in 23?
I like Sean Murphy-Bunting. I think it was a low-risk, high-reward signing. I believe we only signed him for a 1-year deal. And he is going to be a veteran in a group of young individuals. We only touched on Fulton, and we see McCreary on this list. We have other cornerbacks that we haven't touched on yet that are very young. I think Sean Murphy-Bunting is an exceptional cornerback. Like you said, he is a champion. He brings a winning mentality. He will be a mentor to the young guys. And, hey, it's a 1-year deal. If it doesn't work out, then, wish him nothing but the best. But if he turns out to be a player and, someone we can keep in the long term, he's still young. If we have to move on from one of our other younger guys like a Christian Fulton, Sean Murphy Bunting could be a guy that, we give a long-term deal to after this season, should he prove worthy of that. I like the signing, low risk, high reward, proven winner, and, added depth to a position where I feel like we need it. So
Yeah.
no issue with that signing whatsoever. I was actually very excited out of the three of us, me, you, and Jared. I think I was the most excited about that signing. So we'll see how it works out. But I have high hopes for this kid. So
Yeah. I mean, he's 26 years old. So, yeah, like we spoke about earlier, if Fulton is a guy that we don't hold on to for the money, this is a guy maybe we can get value from.
Mhm.
He's been in the league, I think, only 1 year less than Christian Fulton, but we'll have to see how things shape up. This is a great tryout for him, and definitely a guy, I wouldn't mind holding on to long term at 26. As far as health's concerned, plays a good majority of the time. He didn't miss a game his rookie sophomore year. He only played 9 games in 21 and 12 games in 22, so a little bit down the stretch these last few years. But again, still very young, a lot of potential, and you can't really put a price tag on a guy in the secondary that's been through the ringer, through the playoffs, is a Super Bowl champion, and knows what it takes to play to that final whistle to get the trophy that they're looking for. So I do like the signing. Like you said, low risk, high reward. We'll see how things shape up. It's a good opportunity for him, and the pressure really shouldn't be there. I mean, even though I said earlier, we're going to need him to be good, but I don't think he's going to have a lot of pressure on his back. There's some veteran guys going to have around him, and hopefully he succeeds. Moving on, the last ring here of this quote unquote top end of our secondary, we got Roger McCreary, a guy who had a really, I'd say, a little bit above average rookie year, some highs, also some lows. Could another guy that the rumors might have been dealing with some stuff during the season. But regardless, someone who's young, a lot of upside, and if he takes the next step this year, could really be a nice bow on this secondary and boost them up even a little bit more, because I don't think a ton of people are expecting a whole lot out of McCrary. What do you think?
I would. You took the words out of my mouth. I wasn't going to cut you off when you were saying it, but I would say that's a very fair assessment of his rookie season. Slightly above average, showed some flashes, had some ups, had some downs, had that phenomenal highlight reel interception where he deflected the ball to somebody. He was the one who deflected or the one who caught it?
I think he was the one that caught it, but I could be wrong.
Okay, yeah. So I think the potential is there. I liked him in college when they showed the tape when we drafted him. Great instincts. He's a second-year guy. We're looking for a jump. And listen, this cornerback position is so hit or miss that I pray that he lives up to his potential, because he has the ability. It's going to be his second year. Hopefully the game slows down for him a little bit, but definitely showed flashes and gives Titans fans a reason to believe that he can be a player for this team for years to come. So high on McCreary as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. You look at it, and this is going to sound kind of like an oxymoron, but I really think it's true. These five guys right here. I mean, you could easily see the best secondary in the NFL, or this could be a mimic of last year, honestly, and they could be an absolute train wreck. I think the spectrum is so large with this group of guys right here, because you have so many question marks. Obviously, I think Byard would be the easiest one to say you're going to know what you're going to get out of him. But we've seen great flashes from Hooker. We've seen great flashes from Fulton. We've heard nothing but good things about Murphy Bunting, and you saw a lot of good things from McCreary last year's rookie year. So if these guys can figure it out and at least just be a little bit more consistent than they were last year, this could be a slam dunk secondary that is absolutely locked down. And again, you and Jared especially are really high on this defense, and I have my reservations, but with the upside that this group has, it would make a lot of sense why we did become a top 5 defense, because when you have a stout pass rush and pair that up with a more than capable secondary, you're going to stop a lot of touchdowns from being scored. So we got to hope that the latter tilts more to the good side than the bad. But overall, I mean, this is a nice, decent young core with the exception of Bayard that if productive and the money can be figured out, this could be a group that we could see for a little while, and I wouldn't really hate that. So we'll have to let this year play out because there's multiple guys on here that are kind of auditioning for their future in Tennessee, and we'll take it from there. But we'll quickly go through this list of the right now kind of plug and place guys. You're gonna see a lot of these players playing a lot of football on Sundays, but they're not really considered the starters as of now. Quickly, we brought this guy's name up over the last few weeks. Farley. I mean, it's kind of a flip of a coin whether he's even going to get time and what he's going to do with that time is even more of a question mark. If you had to guess, where do you see him, and do you see him having any production?
I'm not sure he's even on the team after camp is over, to be honest with you. I know we had somebody on here that said that supposedly the staff, the new staff or whoever, new GM, likes Farley a lot. I don't know what's to like. He sat out the last season in college because of COVID. The year before that, he dealt with a back injury. His first year in the NFL, he tore his ACL. Last year, he was basically on the practice squad. I don't know what there is to like about this kid. He hasn't played, competitive, organized football, it seems like, in 5 years now. So, it's only potential for so long before you're a bust. And I don't know if he should consider a position change. I know he's a long, rangy corner. Fuck it. Let's see if he could play receiver. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of out on him. There's nothing that he's done to make me believe that he is, going to turn out to be anything. It seems like it's another one of John Robinson's wasted first-round picks, almost as bad as the lineman we took out of Georgia, Isaiah Wilson.
Almost
as bad as that. But yeah, I'm sure you probably feel the same as I do, but I'm just, until he proves otherwise, there's no reason for us or any Titan fan to think he's going to, one, stay on the field, and two, if he does stay on the field, produce at an NFL level. I think he should highly consider changing positions, doing something else. I don't know. But it seems like cornerback for him in the NFL hasn't worked out. So
yeah, I mean, really, you opened up my eyes wider than I thought with that statement. Like, he really was only just a little bit better than that dude from Georgia whose name I won't mention. And it's scary because that pick, I think, unanimously was decided by us fans as the worst pick in Titans history. And you're talking about a guy that's only a little bit better than that. It's scary. And it was another awful, nightmarish gift that John Robinson left us before his final few or his last couple years at Titan GM. But we'll see. I don't think the wide receiver thing is a possibility in any way. I mean, we don't even know if he has wide receiver type hands, because they always say if you're good enough to be a wide receiver, then you'd be a wide receiver. You want to be a cornerback. So we'll see how that shapes up. But you have a good point. He may not even be on the team. And frankly, I wouldn't give a fucking shit if he wasn't on the team come week one, because I just want him out of my mind completely if he's not going to be productive. Moving on, I got to be honest, I had to look this guy up. I don't even know who the fuck this was, Josh Thompson. I'm assuming that JAX means he was from Jacksonville. I looked him up. He has 6 games in the NFL. I think he has a fumble recovery, and other than that, he hands out water. So I don't know if you have more info to give on this dude, but I don't think we're going to see much. And if we do, it's probably a problem. So
yeah, exactly. Him and Mike Brown. I don't
idea
much about either player. It seems like those are guys we just have as depth, because as long as Hooker and Byard are healthy, they're going to be on the field probably 100%, 90 to 100% of the snaps every week if they're healthy. And if one of them is not on the field, then good luck to Josh Thompson and Mike Brown, because I have no idea who they are. That is no disrespect to them. They're professional athletes, NFL caliber athletes. It's just that they are not household names. And if they're on the field, we're probably in some trouble. So, yeah. So we could forget about Josh Thompson and Mike Brown for now. Hopefully, let's not bring their name up unless we have to. And then we could talk about Trey Avery, New Jersey's finest. Shout out Rutgers. No free shout outs. Was he a 7th-round pick, or was he undrafted last year?
It's funny. I was just looking. I believe he was undrafted, but I want to confirm that because I'm looking right at it. Yes, undrafted. He was undrafted.
Yeah, and he ended up playing some meaningful snaps for us. Our hand was forced because of the injuries that we had. But made some plays. Obviously, was picked on a lot because he was an undrafted rookie. Let up some big plays. But considering he was an undrafted rookie and was thrown into the fire, as a rookie, I think I like him as depth. He's going to play special teams. He's going to be there if you need him, but not somebody you want starting right now. It's not to say he cannot be a starting caliber player on this team or in the league. But as of right now, I still think he's young. He's raw. Showed some flashes last year, but was also picked on a lot. And there were some good, some bad. Don't hate him to have him as depth, but do not want him as one of our starting cornerbacks.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he had 9 pass deflections in 14 games last year. He started 3 of them. I definitely remember some specific times where I said to myself, "Hey, this dude might have a chance of, sticking around for a bit." Obviously, I love that he's a Jersey boy. Even though I'm a Seton Hall guy, I got a lot of love for Rutgers and the talent they brought this team over the years. But the bottom line is, this is a guy where I wouldn't be freaked out if I saw him, but I don't really want to see him because he's not proven enough, and we have guys that are proven that should be starting over him. So we'll see how things turn out. Clearly seems like a guy that's going to make the roster, going to be a rotational corner, and hopefully he produces at the level he did last year. 23 tackles, probably had 125 snaps, which isn't terrible, and the 9 deflections is not that bad at all either. So
not for an undrafted free agent,
no.
props when props are due, but great depth to have on your team. But until he proves that he could start, I don't really want to see him on the field as a starter. But
Yeah.
you never know. You never know.
You never know. And moving on finally with the guy who might be the biggest question mark of this whole group here is Elijah Molden. Obviously, we didn't see him at all basically last year, missed almost the whole year, played 2 games, only started 1. But, the year prior, his rookie year, saw a lot of promising things. And I know a lot of people are really high on him still based off that rookie year. Obviously, personally, I need to see more consistency from him before I'm just going to be like, yeah, that's the guy I want, getting more snaps. Obviously, I think he deserves a chance. But is this a guy you want to depend on yet? You just can't, because you haven't seen enough to depend on him in the big moments. But I hope he gets a chance early on to prove himself, and then maybe he can be the guy that we see back there on the big plays. But what do you think?
No, I mean, I echo what you said entirely. Showed some great flashes his rookie year. Had a pick 6 against the Colts one week where Wentz decided to throw the ball on the goal line with his left hand instead of taking the sack. I liked him a lot in college. I liked the draft pick. I think he's very like McCreary, an instinctual player. I believe his father was in the league as well, so he was raised by someone that was in the NFL, probably grew up in an NFL locker room. Last year, didn't really see him at all. So it's tough to give him a fair grade, because his rookie year, you felt like for him being, I think he was a 4th round pick, maybe a 5th round pick. We saw some great things from him his rookie year, and last year he wasn't on the field really at all. So I'm not going to say this is a make or break year for him, but if he can show up and improve upon what we saw his rookie year, I think he's going to be a name down the road where we're going to be thankful that we have him if he takes that next step. But he's a John Robinson guy, not a Carthon guy. He's in the 3rd year of a 4-year deal. So if he does not show up and show out this year, could be another guy that might not be long for this team. But the ability is there. Saw some great things from him his rookie year. Last year, like I said, wasn't really on the field. So we'll see what he has this year. He's probably going to get a chance to play a little bit, considering that this cornerback room is young and inexperienced and somewhat thin. So we'll see what Elijah Molden has this year. If he can improve upon what he showed us his rookie year, then hopefully it's nothing but good things. But I'll see it I'll believe it when I see it. So
Yeah, he's actually a 3rd round pick. So
3rd round pick.
Yeah, definitely.
Washington, right?
Washington, yep, yeah, he was picked 100, so towards the end of the 3rd round.
Yeah.
He's a guy, yeah, with 3rd round pick, man. As bad, obviously J. Rob's no longer here, but definitely a guy you want to see pick it up and maybe be a perennial starter. And then, maybe there could be some kind of value in his contract since he's been limited on the field, his rookie year deal. So we'll see how that shapes up. Like I said earlier, this has potential to be out of this world secondary. And also has the potential to be very similar to what we saw last year, a team that got picked off through the air. And I think that's all going to depend on, I know it's cliche, but injuries. These guys got to stay healthy. Fulton's got to stay on the field. Byard obviously needs to stay healthy, which he's done most of his career. And then these other guys, Molden and Hooker, they got to stay on the field. They're starting caliber players that need to play and take the load off some of the guys that are going to be in there just to fill the hole. So we'll see how things go. I feel a little bit better about this group than I did about 40 minutes ago. So that's always a good thing. Yeah. And we'll see how it shapes up. But
and let's hope our defensive line makes our secondary's life a lot easier, because nothing makes secondary look good than a good defensive line. If you can get pressure on that quarterback early and often and force that quarterback to make errant throws, you can make a mediocre secondary look really good. Not to say this secondary is mediocre. I think the jury's out on just about everybody besides Byard. And, if this defensive line could play like we know it can play, it's going to make the secondary's life a whole lot easier. And in a conference where you're dealing with just talent all over the place from our own division with Jacksonville and Kansas City, and then the Chargers, Buffalo, Miami, they have talent all over. And if you want to be able to compete with that, you're going to have to, stop their air attack. So they're going to have their hands full in this conference, but we'll see if they're up for the task.
Yeah, I mean, the defensive line was, I'd say, better than average last year, and we got picked apart in the air. So you got to hope that both groups improve. You got to hope the defensive line and the pressure gets elevated. And then, again, health was a concern with the secondary. So hopefully with a healthy secondary, all the guys we're depending on are on the field, then those, the stars can align and we can be a real, true, solid top 5 defense, top to bottom. So that remains to be seen. And again, it's all going to depend on health. So we wish the best for that.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to take over Jared's segment for the second time in 3 weeks. And I don't want to steal the segment from him, but I am going to hold it down for him while he's gone. We're going to do some think fast. I'm going to ask the questions, and we're going to see what Sal has to say. So
I love these.
Yeah, give it to me, Sammy.
Think fast.
Now, because I kind of did this on a whim and I couldn't think of questions, and I thought that we should do this, right before the show started, I'm going to ask you the same exact questions I asked Jared to see what your opinions are on the same topic. So let's go right into it. Favorite football season beer?
Allagash White.
Allagash White. Wow. Yeah. I haven't had that in a while.
That's my favorite beer. Any season, anytime. That's my go-to. But I love it for football. Love it.
Wow. Classy. I wasn't expecting that from you. So good answer, though. Favorite.
Not Bud Light, that's for sure. Oh,
not. Come on.
Sorry. You know what? This is our fucking show. We'll say what the fuck we want.
That is true. If you want to sit on a Bud Light, that's up to you. Anyways, favorite movie.
Yeah, this is just so tough, man. It really is, because I'm a movie buff, and I don't want to be cliche.
Be cliche. It's our show, like you said.
I know, but it's just like I'm gonna have to go based off just the movie that I've watched the most times, and it has to be Goodfellas. It just has to be. I've watched that movie. I couldn't even begin to count if I wanted to. So that's just. No. I wish it wasn't that, honestly, because there's just so many fucking wannabe fucking Guidos that just say Goodfellas to be fucking, as whoppish as they can, and that's not what I want to do. But it's the truth.
I think if you asked a lot of people what they thought the best movie of all time is, you would get a vast majority of people that would say Goodfellas. I have no complaint with that answer. It's up there for me as well. So, it might be the easy answer, but sometimes the easy answer is the right answer. So, Question number 3, dream vacation spot.
Oh, Disney World. Always has been. I don't care how old I am. I don't care what it is. That's where I've been going since I was young. It's not a kiddie place. Obviously kids enjoy it there too, but there's so much to do there. You could spend 3 weeks there and listen, I will say without indulging too much information. Okay. It's not the place that I remember when I was 5, 6 years old. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. It's a much different Disney World than it was back in 2002, 2003. And I'm not going to indulge anyone else in the matter, but as far as like things to do, attractions, stuff like that, it's just the best. And the attention to detail they provide on all of their stuff, rides, restaurants, everything under the sun, it's just unbelievable. And I don't mind what people think. It's the truth.
Hey, fair enough. Wouldn't be my answer, but to each his own. You do you, Sal. We know you
Sure.
will. Favorite Sopranos character?
Oh man, I mean, I should plead the fifth because these two guys are just both so close. But I will go with our deceased hero because of how disappointed I've been with the other member that is my favorite and some of his
Recent
politics. Yes. So let's go with Mr. Gandolfini.
Can't go wrong with that.
No.
Complicated character, but you tuned in every week to see what Tony's going to do.
Greatest show of all time. Not even easiest question on earth.
I'm not even kidding. I just got goosebumps on my leg talking about him. I mean, he is, especially for, Italian kids from Jersey. I mean, we grew up on him, not to say he was an influence, but I mean, just endless memories watching that show, with my father as a kid. We didn't watch cartoons. We watched The Sopranos. So
yeah. And it goes even deeper for me because I can vividly remember for the span of 7 years, just always seeing huge production setups all over where I lived.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the scene where Chris is getting made and they're in Totowa and they're in front of that shopping mall. I mean, I've been to that shopping mall literally hundreds of times in that parking lot.
Have you been to his house yet? Tony's house?
I've been in front of it a dozen times.
Yeah.
I've never been inside, but
yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, that's what I meant.
I'm from West Caldwell. That house in North Caldwell.
West
Caldwell. Yeah, I could walk to his house from mine. It'd take me an hour, but I could walk there if I wanted.
Yeah.
So it means even more to me because even though I can only watch it up until the first nude scene when I was a kid, which is about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I literally grew up with that show, and it's like it was all around me, and it's just now it's nostalgic.
I mean, it's part of our culture. It will be forever. I rewatch it on a loop. I have seen the whole series, no exaggeration, at least 50 times, maybe more. I mean, I love it. Nothing is there by mistake. It is a perfect show. You feel as though every character, that's who they are. You feel like nobody's acting, and that's what makes it so great.
Besides the dream episodes. Other than that, it's perfect.
Yeah, well, I mean, even if you rewatch them, you try to think deep about it. A lot of those dreams have meanings. You know what I mean? So, I have no complaint with any aspect of that show. Even the ending. But we could talk about that at another.
We could do our own podcast on that. And are you listening? And that might be happening.
And we just might. Who knows? We don't know where this is going to lead it. But great answer as well. Can't go wrong with Gandolfini. Phenomenal role he played. R.I.P. Gandolfini. Last question. Start, bench, cut. Pancakes, waffles, French toast.
Start, bench, cut. French toast. Ooh. We're gonna cut French toast. We're gonna start pancakes. And what was the third option?
Waffles.
But what was it? It was start, bench, cut.
Yeah,
we're gonna bench waffles. We're gonna bench waffles. We're gonna bench waffles. That's my gut. I'm gonna stick with it.
I think that was my exact answer as well. To me, can't go wrong with pancakes. It's hard. It's really hard to fuck up a pancake.
Yeah.
Waffles, I'm just not into. To me, they're just crusty pancakes in a different shape. And then French toast, hit or miss, but they can sit on the bench. In a pinch, I don't mind some French toast, but my go-to is pancakes. Waffles I could do without. We're cutting them. Bring your iPad. Coach wants to see you. And then French toast is hit or miss. But
yeah,
good answer. Good answer.
Well, Burger King, McDonald's, They have excellent French toast. I don't know what they do to it, but
McDonald's pancakes, till this day, I think I dealt with an addiction between the ages of 17 and 25 where I got McDonald's pancakes for breakfast on the way to Rowan 4 to 5 days a week. I'm not kidding.
no,
I
they're hotcakes. Actually,
Yeah.
that is what they call them in the world of the M.
Yeah, phenomenal. Can't go
they
wrong with
are.
it. But yeah, that's it for the Think Fast.
I loved it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, holding it down for Jared. He'll be back hopefully next week, and
yeah, absolutely.
hopefully we'll have a new wide receiver on our team next time we talk. I have to think that he signs hopefully in the next 10 to 12 days because training camps, most of them start, the 20th, the 22nd, the 25th, and although he might not be a full participant in the physical activity because of his age and whatnot, I still think he needs to be in a camp when it starts to learn the playbook, get acclimated with, his team, his coach, the facility. So hopefully his decision comes sooner rather than later. And I've talked myself into it that we are getting him. So
listen, somebody on Twitter, like always, he's going to be signed tomorrow. My source, whatever, man. Listen, DraftKings said it's minus 300. That's what I'm putting my head on at night. And I mean, he could do whatever the fuck he wants. So I don't understand what the big deal is. Like, he could sign tomorrow and still not go to training camp for a week, and nobody would give a shit. He's DeAndre fucking Hopkins. So I hope he's really not holding out because he just doesn't want to play in training camp. He can do whatever the hell he wants. He's gonna be the king of that town the second he steps foot in it. Well, the prince. We already have a king, but we'll see. We'll see. Each week we're like, hopefully next week. It's the middle of July now. Let's get the fuck on, Nuke. Get here and let's try to win this division. So appreciate everyone joining us. Had a nice lengthy show here. We'll make sure to get Jarrett back in next week. We do miss him, and we hope all the best going on his end. I'm sure we'll get him back. We're gonna wrap it up. Hope everyone had a great time, and hope you have a good night. Hope you have a good day. Hope you have a good week. And as always, tighten up. Sammy, send me out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Talking Titans on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.